Throttling user devices for a better product life. First, let's review the definition of throttling. Throttling is essentially the act of limiting a resource over a specific period of time. This can be used to a variety of resources, including processor power, bandwidth, and energy usage. ISPs, or Internet Service Providers, are a popular example of throttling since they may restrict a user's internet connection speed once a predetermined amount of data has been used. Usually, this is to control overall service demand or avoid network congestion. Now, the importance of throttling. When it comes to online activities like streaming, gaming, or surfing, throttling can directly affect the user experience. Frustration may result from a throttling induced slow connection. By lowering device power consumption, throttling can also aid in conserving energy. Limiting specific procedures or data usage, for instance, can lower in energy usage. Last but not least, throttling can contribute to a device's longer lifespan. For example, gradually lowering resource consumption prolongs the device's lifespan by preventing overheating or excessive hardware damage. Now, societal issues. One of the biggest concerns is lack of transparency. Many companies are implementing throttling practices without informing their consumers. As a result, users may unknowingly experience slower speeds or reduced performance without any explanation, leading to frustration and distrust. This lack of transparency can also be seen as a violation of consumer rights. Companies may be mistreating consumers by abusing their trust. When users sign up for services, they expect fair and clear terms, but throttling without consent undermines this trust and can feel like a breach on the agreement. On the flip side, throttling can have potential environmental benefits. By extending the life of devices such as smartphones, routers, or computers, through reduced usage and strain, we may see a reduction in e-waste. Fewer devices breaking down or needing upgrades can ultimately help decrease the amount of electronic waste in landfills. However, not all throttling is purely functional. Some companies may intentionally throttle services with the goal of pushing consumers to upgrade to newer, more expensive products. This plan can be seen as a manipulative tactic, encouraging users to buy new devices or services prematurely. Now, pros and cons. Some pros: throttling can extend the overall lifespan of devices by reducing strain on the hardware. This helps prevent overheating and excessive power consumption, which in turn can both extend the functional and battery life of a device. By prolonging the life of devices, throttling can also help reduce electronic waste. Fewer devices that needed to be replaced can result in less e-waste and have an impact on the environment. Throttling can prevent sudden shutdowns caused by old deteriorating batteries. By limiting power usage, throttling helps keep the device functional for a longer period of time, even as the battery begins to age. Cons. One of the major downsides is the lack of transparency. If consumers aren't informed about throttling practices, it can lead to a breakdown of trust between the company and the user, especially if they feel misled or deceived. If users notice their devices slowing down but don't understand the cause, they may mistakenly believe the device is malfunctioning. This can lead to them performing unnecessary software updates or even purchasing new products when they don't need to. Throttling can also seem as companies intentionally limiting performance of older devices to push consumers to buy new ones. This raises ethical concerns about corporate manipulation and fairness. Consequences intended versus unintended. One of the key goals of throttling is to extend the life of devices. By limiting resource use, devices last longer, meaning fewer upgrades needed. This reduces the need for consumers to replace frequently, ultimately saving money and reducing e-waste. Another intended consequence is that throttling can help prevent system crashes and unexpected shutdowns. By controlling performance and ensuring devices won't overheat or become overwhelmed, users can enjoy a more stable experience even as their devices age. Some unintended are if a user feels misled about throttling practices, they may feel betrayed by the company, leading to anger and frustration. This can result in a loss of trust, and in some cases, consumers may even file lawsuits against the company for deceptive practices. They can significantly damage customer loyalty and lead to costly legal battles. Throttling practices can especially attract negative media coverage. This public backlash could tarnish a company's reputation, making it harder to retain existing customers and attract new ones. A damaged reputation can have long term effects outweighing the short term benefits of throttling. Some future aspects. One of the most important future aspects is transparency. Companies should work to create a better understanding of what is being done with throttling practices. A great example of this is Facebook's approach, where they can clearly communicate the reasons behind all their actions. This transparency helps build trust and ensures consumers feel informed about what's happening with their data and device performance. Another possibility is giving users more control. Instead of automatically implementing throttling, companies could offer consumers the option to disable it if they choose. This would get rid of them using alternatives such as VPNs and proxies. Lastly, investing in better hardware could also be more sustainable to throttling. Instead of limiting device performance, companies could focus on improving hardware capabilities, which would help avoid the need for throttling altogether. By prioritizing hardware advancements, companies could better provide performance without having to intentionally limit resource use. The scenario and dilemma. Apple has recognized that device owners may not want to buy a new device every time a new version comes out, but newer features take more power than the old versions have. To allow the older versions to last longer, Apple has been slowing them down, throttling back the devices. Users of older devices are not informed that this is happening. The CEO of Apple is considering publicly acknowledging that the devices are intentionally slowed down as they age, but fears the public reaction to such a disclosure. The ethical dilemma is it ethical for the CEO to publicly acknowledge the slowing down of older devices? Thank you.